Good morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering wisdom for living on this Friday. And today we're looking at a topic why those that are getting good results, um, getting bad results, I should say, do not seek alternatives. So why those that are getting bad results do not seek alternative? Um, I did an edit there, and I left out. I changed something. So this is what we're looking at here this morning as we do our live talk program, covering wisdom for living. And there's a anomaly here that I wanted to talk about, and I will talk about. You see why I did. Couldn't decide where to go with it. So why those that are getting bad results do not seek alternatives? And the idea is they think they're getting good results. So this is what I want to talk about this morning. Yes, so top of the morning to you here. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, thank you again, O Lord, for your love towards us and for this day. I pray that you may be with us as we walk humbly before thee and learn of thee. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm going to talk about some things here that is important for us, and that is the concept here of why those that are getting certain results, why they don't seek alternatives. And this can be a thing that you observe throughout your life. And when we're in a bad situation, we tend to we can get comfortable there, and we might think that's this is how our life's going to be, but we should always strive to be able to better our situations, and when we do this, life is better that way. So this is what I want to look at here, why situation can be very negative in this life, and a person can be comfortable with their situation in a negative situation. So let's go into our theme. So our theme has been, why do some only consider mainstream and not alternative? And this concept here of the safety of mainline mainstream government and other approved channels and systems. What make a person a child or head of these systems, or how they become a child or head of these systems. So I think I covered that especially yesterday. So what I want to look at here now is that why some things could be bad, say in a person's life, a country, church, whatever institution they belong to. And why is it that it could be bad, but they're comfortable in the bad? They're comfortable in that environment. And this can be an experience that many people go through where they're comfortable in a situation that is very negative to them. Our main text has been in John chapter 7, verse 5 through 8. John chapter 7, verse 5 through 8. And it simply says that, for neither did his disciples or his brethren believe in him. Then Jesus said unto them, my time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but it ate it, ate, but me it ate it, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. Go ye up unto this feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet come. So here was Christ talking to his brethren, and they were asking him about going up to this feast. And he says, I can't go really up openly because I'm not accepted because of the things I say. But you can go, and you can go always. And so you go up to the feast. And this can be a situation that we all deal with in all face. And so we can be in a situation where we're comfortable and those around us are comfortable with us, but the situation is not the best situation for us, and yet we're still comfortable. So that's can be our experience. And so again, I want to deal with this idea: why those that are not getting, those that are not getting. So I was right in the first place. My fast reading here is messing me up. So why those that are not getting good results do not seek alternative? So I was right there. I guess too lack of sleep. So notice here, why try to convince a sick person that they're sick is what I want to deal with. And this is the main theme, the main thing I want to deal with. Why convince a sick person that they're sick? um, they're sick. So in Mark chapter 2, verse 16, Mark chapter 2, verse 16, and 17, it says here, and when the scribe and Pharisees saw him eat with publicans and sinners, they said unto his disciples, how is it that he eateth and drinketh with publicans and sinners? When Jesus heard it, he said unto them, they that are whole have no need of a physician, but they that are sick. I come not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. So they that are whole don't need a physician, right? So one of my point here that I think, why is it a person that is not getting good results, right, will not seek alternative, is because they could be convinced in their mind that they're okay, or that there is no solution for their problem. They might not know that there's a solution for the problem. And so if they don't know, and there's no idea that there can be a solution and there should be a solution or whatever it is, they won't seek a solution. So in my thinking here, what I'm thinking is it doesn't make sense to convince a sick person that they're sick. So what I mean by that is that you more try to tell a sick person that there's alternatives to their problem, but they don't have to be in a position. Like I said, it is better to inform a person that their current terrible state is not normal, and that there's a solution. Or you can inform them about an alternative way of thinking or living that will result in better outcomes. Because a sick person should know that they're sick, right? So for me, it's like Christ says, you don't go to you don't people that are whole don't need a physician. And so because a person is already whole, they're already intact, they're feeling well. You don't say you need to go to a physician, or the person don't say to myself, I need to go to get a doctor so I can get a solution for my problem, because there's no problem. You don't seek a solution until you have a problem. But I can realize that a person could have a problem and they don't think they have a problem. So to try to convince a person that they have a problem can be a very difficult thing I've learned over the years. You might see they have a problem, but they don't see they have a problem, or they're satisfied for whatever reason that their problem don't need to be solved, or that there's not even a problem. And so going to that person to try to convince them that the limp they're having or the pain they're suffering is pain and they're sick is sometimes it's very futile. It is better if the person already acknowledge that they're sick, and then you can inform them that there's a solution and they don't have to be in that terrible condition. But try to tell a person that they're sick when they're in pain and they're suffering afflictions and all kind of problem is oftentimes futile, because the person seems to convince themselves that the situation they're in is okay, right? So it would be like telling a person that they need to go to rehab. Probably the person need to be convinced to go to rehab, and then you get some more solution. Person need to check themselves in the hospital because they are suffering a pain. Imagine if you see a person walking with one of their hand mangled up, and you say, hey, listen, you need to go see the doctor about that. And the person will be like, no, I'm good. And then you try to convince them that they're not good. Well, they're good. Why would they go seek a doctor? So Christ is saying, you sick people that are whole don't need a doctor. The doctors have no value. But as people are sick, the doctors have immense value. If you're in pain, suffering, you're suffering debility, whatever, you want to seek a solution. So with the situation with mainline, is that a person could be comfortable in the situation that they're in. So if a person is comfortable in the situation they're in, and you're trying to tell them that they're uncomfortable, this is not going to work, because the person will be like, what are you talking about? I'm comfortable. This is good. And you'd be like, no, this is not normal. And so first, to me, the person have to be like, I'm uncomfortable. And you informing them that there's a way for them to get comfortable. And then they'll receive the information because they're already convinced that they're not comfortable. Or you could tell them that the method of thinking you're doing is making your life this way. and they are informed about that, and they can change their method of thinking to get a better result, or the lifestyle they're practicing is ending in a bad result because they know that it's getting bad result and they're seeking good result. So to me in life, what I've learned over the years is that trying to convince a person that they're in pain is not the best way to go about life. So this is what I'm going to kind of flesh out for you. Because a person could feel that they're good and they're not good. They look terrible, they feel terrible, but they're like, oh, I'm good. And so Christ is saying here, I'm going to get to it. Christ is saying here, it doesn't work. So why those that are not getting good results do not seek alternative? I twisted myself with my twisted topic. So I'll read the text again, and I'm going to go to my two main texts I want to share. And to summarize this week, what's the wisdom? Because I've learned over the years, it is futile to convince a person who is not sick that they're sick. Because first you have to convince them that they're sick, and then you have to convince them that they probably need to go see a doctor. But they're comfortable a person that's comfortable in a wretched state is very difficult. But a person who is not comfortable, and if you inform them that there's a solution, they normally take it readily, or they take it more readily. And if you tell them that this is not normal, what they're suffering, they'll be like, really? Yeah, no. Other people don't live like this. Then a solution is more accepted. And if you tell them that there's a different way to live, and they'll get better results. Normally people are like, oh, I want that thing, I want that product, I want that whatever in my life. They never knew the solution out there, but they had a problem. It's like almost when you have a product sometimes fits the life of a person, and the person probably didn't know the product exists and that solution exists. And what the advertiser do is trying to inform the person that this problem you have, there's a solution for it. I was watching an interview with a person, and they were selling a product, a service that their company does. And as they were selling it, the person that was asking a question was still not clear on what exactly the service does. And I was thinking, I'm not clear. But then when one of the interviewers say, I'm not clear, they say, oh, I wasn't clear too. So they're not clear also. So the person selling was not making very clear, what exactly do you do? And be like, okay, the person said, I do this, I do that. Okay. But I'm not clear. And I wasn't clear. So sometimes it's a matter of clarifying, what is it? So we know what a physician's supposed to do. It's supposed to get rid of your pain and suffering. So the scribes and Pharisees were comfortable, and those that followed them were comfortable in the method. The scribes and Pharisees represent mainline. And the people were getting bad results, but they were comfortable. The Pharisees were comfortable. I convinced them that this is the way. So the people chose the mainline instead of the alternative, even though the alternative would have given better results. So my thing I wanted to just talk to you here about why people are comfortable. In other words, that's another way I could title it. Probably that would have been better. Why people are comfortable getting bad results and not seek alternative. That's probably a bit more straightforward. So notice here, the scribes and Pharisees saw him eat with publicans and sinners. So the sinner in our modern day, the regular person, it would be better for Christ to go to them because he's offering a solution for people who, for the most part, would sit with him, was coming to him because they weren't comfortable in their situation. But the Pharisees who were living like them and even worse than them were comfortable, and they were good. So Christ didn't have no use for them. So why would Christ eat with them? Why would Christ talk to them? They're useless to talk to. And they said to his disciples, how is it that he eat it and drink it with publicans and sinners? How is he an associate? So notice here, this is the same behavior that is shown for today. Nothing has changed. You can imagine this. 2,000 years, we're still in the same boat. How does he associate with people who need help and acknowledge they need help? They don't need no help. So he goes and be like, we don't want to hear what you have to say. As a matter of fact, I want to kill you for what you have to say. So this is the same thing you can learn, and I've learned over the years. If you're talking to a person that's good and everything is fine, any solution you offer is useless because they're good. So I've learned over the years, that's why people can be comfortable in mainline, mainstream, in anything what is the status quo, because it's working for them. And as I say, if you if you if your health insurance is good for you, as was said a few years back, keep it. You're not gonna have to keep your health insurance. This is for somebody who don't have the insurance. And many people argue against that. And I'm thinking the reason why, because they had health insurance and they were good. But people who didn't have, they wanted it. So the solution was valuable for them. But the people who had already, they'd be like, nah, don't take no money from me to help people who are sick. So it's always, solutions are good when somebody wants it. But if a person good, then you can keep the health insurance. You see, that's the concept there. Not a way of looking at it. So when Jesus heard it, he said unto them, they that are whole have no need of the physician, but they that are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. So if you're whole and you're in a situation where your situation is good, you can be very comfortable. But you could look at a situation. I was watching this video about Sri Lanka. I don't know if it was this week or sometime. Sri Lanka, the country, Sri Lanka, was having protests because their debt servicing and the amount of debt that they have, the government took on, and the situation of inflation, all the financial thing going on, the people are leading the country into some bad situation. And the country's running out of money. And the people are protesting. So I was thinking, okay, they're protesting so that they realize that they have a problem. But if you're in a country and there's certain things going on, and the country doesn't realize they have a problem, the people could be comfortable and with, say, the debt of the country, the inflation, all the things that are going on, and there's no protest. So you say, okay, why is there no protest? Because the people are comfortable. They don't need a solution. They don't need an alternative. Business as usual. And you say, well, aren't they being squeezed? Business as usual. So if somebody come and say there's a solution for the problem, they'll be like, why? There's no problem. So to convince a person that there's no problem can be a very difficult thing. But when a person have a problem, normally they say, well, we want a change of government, going to vote certain people out because they're causing us problem. But in that country, they can feel a problem, but somewhere else they couldn't feel a problem. Years back, somebody that I knew, they were from Cuba, and what they were telling me is that one of the ways that they keep the peace amongst the people is that they keep them drunk. They have a lot of wine or alcohol. So as the people are inebriated, they don't see that the situation they're in is bad, and they keep them there. And I thought about it and I say, I believe that there is truth to that, right? I remember years back, North Korea buy a whole factory that built alcohol from England and dismantle the factory and ship it right to North Korea. And I say, oh, okay, so there's probably something there where you can keep people high, inebriated, high on drugs, crack cocaine, whatever, and they'll keep the peace because they're good. But then over the years, I've realized also that there's two of the biggest, other than the mind going into, doctrinal psychosis or doctrinal delusions. Also, the mind can be messed up with drugs. That's another thing. So, two things there. A third thing I believe that's happening, that's causing this. Our third and fourth thing is fear and greed. So there's some people that they'll keep quiet as long as they have greed running, where they can like, at least I can make more money and live better than the people on the side of the street, the homeless people. So I'm not gonna rock the boat because I want to get to a certain place. And I don't care what's going on around me. I'm just focused on making money, whatever. And I'm not realizing something is wrong. Or I realize it, but I ignore it. So I'm not going to protest. So the people inebriated not going to protest. The people who are probably other people who get in some welfare checks and stuff like that. They probably not gonna protest because they're being fed. Even if it's junk food, they're being fed. Then people are greedy. Another thing is fear, right? Because fear and greed are two big emotions that can keep people quiet. And so as long as we're fighting an enemy, then the people will side with the leaders, even though their situation is wretched. So going back to that situation with Cuba, you can see where you can have people who this is their situation and they're satisfied with it. And I'm thinking, okay, they could be satisfied because as long as they have an enemy, they're not really concentrated and concerned about the leader of the country and the leaders and what they're doing for them and their lifestyle because they're so caught up into thinking that they're protecting us, right? And then I said, this is a terrible situation we're in. So then over the years, I've thought about that and I say, wait a minute, but this here, why would somebody be comfortable in mainline, whatever mainline is, like in this situation would be the Pharisees and Sadducees. They're keeping people in a state where the people are in a mess, as Christ would have to heal and teach the people. So the people are ignorant. They weren't teaching them, but they were supposed to be teachers. The people have demons. The people have sickness. The people have food problem, all kind of problems. But yet the Pharisees keep them in that terrible state and they're happy or comfortable, I should say. Why people are comfortable, why they don't seek an alternative. So going back to Cuba now. So when she told me that, over the years, I've got me thinking because it's easy to see it in North Korea. It's easy to see it in, say, other countries, Iran, whatever. You could just name your country, whatever axis of evil country. You could say, oh, they're starving over there. And the leader is overweight. They're not really doing good for the people, but the people are comfortable. But then you can, as I say, pull the magnifying glass or the binoculars or the lens out and you can look broader. You can start saying, wait a minute, but you can do the same thing in any country. You could have a country where you're constantly fighting enemies and you're distracted because you fear the enemies. So the country, you're living in a terrible situation. But like I can apply it to Israel and you can say the same thing. You live in a constant state of fear. You live in a police state, a military state. You're always worried about, you have to have an iron dome because you're always worried about people raining rockets on you, so forth and so on. And the citizens can be very comfortable in that. It's not a good life and they don't need a solution because we have an enemy. The enemy is Hamas, is Hezbollah. They create enemies. And if you've seen a thing where there's so many people talking about that they created Hamas. The Israeli government was, under Netanyahu, was one of the funders of Hamas, and America funded them also and promote democracy, and they won and got to power. Because having an enemy can keep people comfortable. Like we have sides. So you have the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Sadducees are liberal, the Pharisees are conservative, and they fight against each other, and people take sides. And as long as my side is winning, I'm comfortable with my mess and my situation. And I'm not thinking, wait a minute, something is wrong here. My life is not that good. And so to convince people, I think, that are getting bad results, that there's an alternative and they should seek an alternative, it's difficult on the situation because in their mind, they're so focused that we're winning that they're not really thinking, well, we're winning, but our life is a mess still. Situation is bad. So it's easy to see these things, say in a place like Cuba or North Korea, and you could say, yes, they're winning, but it's you never pull back and say, wait a minute, we have people. We're not in North Korea, but we have people living on the streets in greater and greater number and dumpster diving. But people say, but we're comfortable, we're good. What makes them comfortable in that situation? What makes it that they're good? We have $30-something trillion worth of debt. Why people are comfortable? Why mainline is working for them? Why wouldn't they seek alternative? Right? You have so many people dying of cancer every year. But somebody will say, I believe in mainline medicine. I don't believe in alternative. But there is a constant lawsuits of how many people have died of cancer in just the last 20 years by taking certain drugs. And There's so much opiate and there's so much mass shootings and so. And you can just go down the line and you say, Lloyd, what are you talking about? You talking about North Korea? I'm like, no, just think about where you live. And you could be in a situation where you can't even convince a person because they'd be like, it's not, there's no comparison. The 30 something trillion dollars worth of debt divided by the whole country. It's peanuts. I'd be like, really? It's peanuts. And you don't see there's a problem? No, because I'm fed. I am, I am, I'm more of my money's going away because of inflation. There's all these things going on, but I'm good. And you can say that's not happening here, but you can look at another country, you can apply it. You can say yeah, because the people are celebrating that. As I say, the Jewish people now, they have a iron dome, and you look at that, you say, yeah, but that's not a good way to live. And they'll be like, oh no, we're protected. There's guns everywhere, and you say that's not a really good way to live. They say, oh no, it's a good way to live. And you'll be like, what do you live in fear? You have so much, I mean, it depends on how you're thinking. That's where we have to go and look at other places and compare. But oftentimes people don't want to look in the mirror and say, well, what is my situation? They'll be like, oh no, it's great. Everything is good, right? So comfortable. So that's what I'll talk about. So I have these two texts that I want to go to illustrate some points here. Because again, my theme has been, why do people are comfortable, so to speak, in mainline and they don't seek alternatives? Why do they, and this concept of a safety, you can feel safety mainline. Why? Because as I say, most politicians, they just, they run office and most of the time they don't run on what they're going to do for the people. They run on fear or hate for the other side. Today, the big hate would be the liberals want everybody to be free, and the Democrats, not Democrats, the conservative, they're going against the woke people and the LGBTQIA plus people and so forth. And you can run on that, but everybody's still a mess. The debt is going up. We're fighting wars. We're doing this, but everybody's comfortable because we could. So you get the point. So Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. Hopefully you get the point. Hopefully I clarify more where you go. Because if you're here, people are comfortable. Ain't nobody, think about it, it's just running out the debt there. Infrastructure need building, all kind of stuff. And they'll be like, people like, listen, we comfortable. We good. And you'll be like, why you good? Because we good. Jeremiah chapter 8 onward. Jeremiah 8, verse 8. Notice here, and how do ye say, we are wise, and the law of God is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made ye it. The pen of the scribe is in vain. Like, we're good. We don't need no law. The pen of the scribe, yeah, put that down. We're good. So you can be in that situation. The wise men are ashamed. They are dismayed. They are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of the Lord, and what wisdom is in them. Therefore will I give their wives unto others, and their fields to them that shall inherit them. For everyone from the least even unto the greatest is given to covetousness. From the prophet even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely. So you have results, right? And the results are unerring. There's no error in the results. The numbers don't lie. People could try to interpret it, but they don't lie. When you have death rate, when you have a situation where people are saying we're disappearing, or we're getting wiped out, and yet they're comfortable and they're saying the people who have it bad are those people over there. They can see where the problem is, but the question is why are they comfortable, right? Why? If you have these bad results, why is it the people are we good? A wise man, the scribe, put on your pen. Everything is good, right? We need to help those people over here. We just need to keep pumping money into this war and that war, and that's going to make them vote for the politicians. So why? He continues saying here, for they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying peace, peace, when there's no peace. So you see, it's easy for me in my situation to not deal with my situation, to look away or to look to somebody like we think about it, we create prosperity gospel preachers. And many times you look at the prosperity gospel preachers, they're people preaching to people in the worst communities. And they pack the house and people praising the Lord. And the situation is terrible. Why? Because you can heal you can heal the state of a person by just telling them lies and tell them something. Or, as I say, greed, drugs, because greed is, I say, I want to be prosperous, but my situation is terrible. You tell me one day I'm going to prosper, the Lord's going to bless me. So that greed keep me focused that I'm like, I'm in my squalor and I just stay there and I'm not doing anything about it because one day I'm going to prosper. Fear, all these things. You can heal people by this. By healing them, they're not looking for solution because they don't have a problem. And so now, how do you convince a person that there's no problem? Because there's somebody telling them that there's no problem, and so they believe it. So they heal my dot by telling them peace, peace. But it's a healing, but it's a slight healing because the situation is still there. Notice here, were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Nay, they were not at all ashamed, neither did they blush. Therefore shall they fall among them that fall in the time of their visitation, that they shall be cast down, saith the Lord. I will surely consume them, saith the Lord. There shall be no grapes and on the vine, no figs on the tree, and the leaf and the leaf shall fade, and the things that I have given them shall pass away. So you're seeing the results. You're seeing the issues going on in the society. You're seeing the issues going on in the church. And they're looking at it, but they're comfortable. Like in the church, they're closing institutions. They're closing churches. They're closing institutions in the church. The people are in a raggedy condition, wretched condition, but they're comfortable because they've been told things that tell them, oh, because the church is going through. And yet they say it's going to go through where it's going to be a terrible ordeal because the people are messed up and that most of the people in the church are not prepared to close their life record. But people are like, but I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable because I'm in the system. You go into society and you see what's going on in the society. But you can take away the bad results by just saying, I just add to the debt. Let's ignore the people on the side of the street. Let's ignore bombed out communities. You have communities that I've driven through communities that look like a war was fought, literally. And I think that's what happened. I think what happened is that sometimes when these communities get destroyed financially because the jobs were sent away. Because think about it, they talk about jobs being sent away to Mexico, to China, to all these different Asian countries. But those jobs, those warehouses, those whatever, what was left behind was communities that just got ravaged. But people are comfortable. There's no problem. So there's no solution need to be had or to be found. But what happened, I think, is that what I've learned over the years is that, say, when the community is abandoned, there's these abandoned houses, and then people with drugs will go in there either to cook the drug, like cook the crack or stuff, and then sometime when they're cooking, the house catch fire, and then they burnt out. So I realized when I would go through certain places, and I'm like, why the house like a grenade went off in it? And I'm like, oh no, it got burnt. So the place looked like something out of a movie, and with tumbleweeds and stuff like that. But it's in an urban area. But there's no problem because we're good. And we're so good that we just keep fighting wars. And the homeland is not taken care of. But as long as we have an enemy, because remember, the people fear because they fear, oh, they're going to kill us or whatever. So we have to fight. So that fear keep them not thinking about their current situation. And it's the same thing. You could have a lot of the debt being ballooned by, say, Medicare, Medicaid. People are sick. But if people are sick and there is nobody telling them, or they don't think that they're sick, they're not going to seek a solution. And the price is going to keep going up. Because think about it, it seems like what I'm looking at is that the current generation and the next generation coming up after them, that are still here, but the younger people, they're becoming more sick, more genetic disease, more lifestyle disease, more obesity, more mental health problem. And you were seeing the results, but we comfortable. I can't remember the one of the senators. It's a female senator. I was watching her news conference yesterday from in Maine, and I've seen her face. I know her name, but it's not coming to my head. But anyhow, so this female senator, I was watching her news conference, and they were asking her about the yellow flag law, that this person should have had their gun taken from them that did the mass shooting. And she was saying she really don't know. She says she's a big sponsor of, like, to ban bump stock. I realized she's saying that bump stocks where the ban didn't go through. So I thought that was crazy. But anyhow, so she's a big fan of that, and she put forward legislation. And she said Maine, I think she said, has either the highest or one of the highest gun per person in the state. I mean, in the country. But she was saying how they were asking her, so why it didn't trigger? And she said she don't know. She don't know why it didn't trigger. I think I know why. But you could be comfortable with a certain, just it's like a bleed, and the bleed just continue. But like, nah, we're not gonna stop that. People could have Susan Collins. Thanks very much, Tamar. Susan Collins. So yeah, Susan Collins was there. I was watching her press conference, and she was like, she didn't know why the it fits the criteria, but it wasn't given. So but somebody probably be like, that's, what I'm saying. That to me is what I think probably happened. Somebody be like, he's a military trainer instructor. He's a gun person, and let's not. No, we're good. Basically, I think probably that's what happened, or just the system needs to be updated with some new software. That the moment he gets committed, it triggers, and then it's automatic. It's just guns have to be go. But again, you could be in a situation where you think it's totally normal, and you're comfortable, but you're in a bad situation, and you're like, we good. So I say here, so they heal the hurt of my daughter, slightly. Notice here, I will surely consume them, say the Lord. There shall be no grapes nor vine, read that. Verse 14. Why do we sit still? Assemble yourself, let us enter into the defense cities, and let us be silent there, for the Lord our God had put us in to silence, and given us water of God to drink, and because we have sinned against the Lord. So you could see a situation where people are drinking a bitter cup, and they're probably comfortable because something is making them comfortable. As they say, in Rome, for what I've read, I can't remember which book I was reading, and they were going through when the decline of Rome, and what they would do, they'll give them the matinees. I think that's where they got that word from. They will give them like something in the amphitheater, so entertainment, and then they'll give them free food. There was a lot of free food being given away, while the empire was going in debt. The indebtedness was rising, and a lot of people are not working, but they have free food. And as long as the empire was going in debt and the empire was crumbling, before Rome broke up into the 10 divisions of Europe, the people were comfortable, right? And they were not complaining because they were entertained and they were fed. And so you could see this, or you could say, somebody could say, that's Rome. What are you talking about? We're comfortable and fed. And you'd be like, listen, fed. There's only Pacific Islanders that are more fed than in, say, in America. And even within America, what I'm hearing is that some of the most oppressed people in America are really fed. And they say, like, native Indians, they have massive obesity, diabetic problem, all kind of problem. They're really fed. So you can have a person in a terrible situation, but if as long as their stomach is full, they probably have some alcohol. They say among native Indian, they have massive alcohol problem. They're good. And then also they have an enemy. And so they just keep them thinking, okay, these people are my enemy, but they're not really thinking, probably my politicians are my enemy also. And my lifestyle is my enemy. I need change. So people don't look for change when things are good. This is one thing. But as I say, it's easy to see outside. But when you start to look inside, you could say, well, those same things drive us: greed, fear, being fed, and all the other stuff. And people just keep comfortable. So we go into the offensive city, but we eating bread of gall. Oh, they had a group of people like say Black Americans can be so beaten down, but listen. There is no group of people that praise the Lord that like Black Americans in their worship service, and their pastors get them hyped, and then just go back to squalid conditions and poverty, and the kids dying of drug overdose and being shot and stuff, and they're praising the Lord. You would never think if you watch like a Black American worship service that their situation is they're drinking gall, because the process has been worked out with them very cleanly. It's very very potent that they like. Listen, like you can imagine your child drop dead of crack, and then Sunday morning you're in the church raising the roof. You'd be like, are they aware of what's going on? No, because a person is not sick. You can't offer them a solution or an alternative. Mainline works for them because it does. Just keep the welfare checks coming and stuff like that. And that's not for all Black America. But I'm just saying, over the years, I noticed when I was younger, because I visited churches, Adventist churches that they praise the Lord, that you would never think there was a drug epidemic going on. Very crazy how this works. So verse 15 says, we look for peace, but no good come, and for a time of health, and behold, trouble. So you're looking for peace. Oh, I have to go a little faster. So you're looking for peace, but there's just trouble. So as the years roll by, I start to realize, wait a minute, what is this number with this amount of people that have suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation, and there's more deaths by suicide in America than there's by, say, gang violence and murders. And I started to realize, okay, so it's the same thing in the white community. They have a problem, but they're not sick. And when it only gets to a point where they don't even tell you, I guess. They just keep it quiet, and then they just take themselves out. But they're comfortable. Everything is fine. There's no problem. Now you say, okay, a person that's going to commit suicide, there's a problem. I'd be like, no, but there's no problem, because there's the bread, and there's the Sunday matinee, I don't know how you say it, the Sunday there's a lot of entertainment. So there's a lot of music, there's a movies, blah, blah. And as long as we have some popcorn and some soda or whatever, we're good. And you'd be like, you're good? Yeah, we're good. And then suicide. And you say, no, something's wrong. So that's what it is. But people are comfortable, and you can say, oh no, my enemy is the Muslim, is the whatever. And you wind up on that, thinking, is my enemy the people leading me? Because who was the enemy of the Jewish people? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It was the scribe. But who was really the enemy? It was Jesus became the enemy. The person was trying to give them some blessings. So notice here, the snorting of his horse was heard from Dan. The whole land trembled at the sound of the nine of his strong ones. For they are come and have devoured the land, and all that is in it, the cities and those that dwell therein. For behold, I will send serpents and cockatrices among you, which will not be charmed. They shall bite you, saith the Lord. So you can have these poisonous things biting the people, and people are good. Everything is good. And you say, why are you good? Oh no, because the problem we have in the country is the people coming over the border. Why are they coming over the border? And don't talk about that. Are they coming over there because they're coming to work? Why are they coming to work? Because we have 7 point something million, according to the government, I think, or somebody I hear on the news, young men or young people that are not in the workforce. Why are they not in the workforce? Oh, well, we have some problem with some things that are biting the people. What is biting them? Oh, crack and cocaine and meth and trank. That's terrible. And that's what biting people. Yeah. But we're not worried. We're not worried. We're good. Our enemy is the foreigners coming over the border. Really? But why are they coming? And you can't go over, you're like a dog chasing the tail. And they can't realize there's a problem. You don't see there's a problem? No, we're good. We're not North Korea. We don't have no problem. But as I know in life, everybody has a problem. Everybody has problems. From an individual level to a country level. But it's easy for a country to tell you, Somebody's having a problem. So you believe in mainline. You're going to church, it's the same thing. We're closing churches. Oh, we don't want to talk about that because it's God's church is going through. You don't see there's a problem. Oh no, the leaders are good. Oh, they're against LGBTQIA plus. So that's it. Oh yeah, they're against. So they have an enemy. Yeah, that's our enemy, the LGBTQ people. So you don't see they're closing churches and they're running the church down to the ground and closing institution. Oh no, those are God's anointed men. They're running the church God's way, really. And it's the same thing. They're comfortable. So when I would comfort myself against sorrow, my heart is faith in me. Behold the voice of the cry of the daughter of my people, because of them that dwell in a far country. Is not the Lord in Zion? Is not her king in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their graven images and with their strange vanities? So the lifestyle and the worship of the people are not of God. This is what I'm saying. You could create a worship service that might make people feel just absolutely fine, but is not of God. You think about almost all the Protestant pastors that I've seen on TV, they're warmongers. I saw one of them, I saw to click that video where he's talking about peace, blessed are the peacemakers. I'm like, that's amazing. I'm gonna have to watch that video. I think it was Pastor Hagee. And this, I don't watch those type of people too often. It's just I kind of watch them when there's something cataclysmic goes on, because I want to see what they're preaching. And my man have a good title called, this is one of the biggest warmongers probably the planet. Probably make Genghis Khan look like what we call it, a child in the nursing, no, a child in the daycare. This is a warmonger, if you want to hear a warmonger. And so he has a sermon called Blessed. I'm just thinking that's hilarious. These warmongers, these people just hate people all over the planet and talking about blessed are the peacemakers. So the harvest is past and the summer is ended and we are not saved. For the hurt of the daughter of my people, I'm hurt. I am black. Astonishment have taken hold of me. Literally, I believe he's probably like, he's looking at it and the people are good. And he's looking at it thinking, how can it be good? How can we look and see our fellow human beings walking on the side of the street and diving into dumpsters? And we just warmongering, just keep telling people, just go fight. I'd be like, whose money? Our money. We can afford it. They'd be like, the people on the street, they can't afford it. Bombed out cities and no. Is there no balm in Gilead? The prophet asks. Is there no physician there? Well, Christ was a physician and they killed him. Why then is not the health of the daughter of my people recovered? Why is there no recovery? Why things keep going worse? Why, in correlation to the correlation of the national debt is correlated to the homeless problem, is correlated to the suicide problem, is correlated to the closed businesses, is correlated to shortages of workers, and you can keep going. So much correlation. It's correlation to the people are fed and they're getting fatter, literally, more morbidly obese people, but we're good and there's no trouble. And they don't see, wait a minute, those morbidly obese people literally going to sink the healthcare system within 5 to 10 years. And within 20 years, it's just going to crumble, because to take care of people that have damaged their knees, their ankles, their hips, their liver, kidney, heart, brain, like that, you will see. This is amazing what we're creating a system that the weight of all of this, all these young people now that are in drugs, trank, flakka, crack, cocaine, meth, all these things, they're going to get older. How are you going to take care of them health-wise? And yet people are like, we're good. They'd be like, no, but you don't see the healthcare costs coming up? And yet, what I just said to you, I've never heard anybody on the media, no politician, have ever said that. Probably one of them say, I've just never heard it. But I'm thinking, don't they see what it's going to cost healthcare in 5, 10 years? Because remember, the people who are living like this way back then, we're feeling the healthcare cost of them. Imagine 10 years from now. It's going to be amazing to watch. The hospital is going to literally like just drop, all that weight. I don't even know if they build them with that load bearing in them, the floors, literally. So Luke chapter 4, verse 13. And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed, which is Jesus, departed from him for a season. Oh, sorry, the devil departed for a season because he had to go back and retool. Not good though, but he retooled by saying, I'm gonna get into the Pharisees and Sadducees to take him out because I can't take him out by destroying his brain. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it is written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He had sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book and gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And all eyes were that and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, This day is the scripture fulfilled in your ears. All bear witness and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, Is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, Ye shall surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And he said, Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the day of Elias, when the heavens were shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. So the situation was bad. And I covered this in the last few days, but the prophets of Baal was eating at Jezebel's table. Very important to note this, as I say. That in itself I have to do a study on, because remember, the prophets were eating at Jezebel's table and they were good while there was a famine in the land. They're good. And this is going to be what it is. You could have leaders that they're good. The people are in a bad situation and the leaders don't care because let's what happened. They're fed. Side note. So continue here because somewhere I'm going. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elias, the prophet. And none of them were cleansed, save Naaman the leper, because Naaman wanted to be cleansed. And as a matter of fact, Naaman, I don't know how much he wanted to be cleansed, but the little girl said to him, saying, Oh no, there's a prophet in Israel that can cleanse you. And he's like, really? So he went and he got cleansed. But other people were in there, they didn't get no cleansing because they're good. You could be a leper and not get cleansed. You could be in an environment where there's famine and somebody else get the blessing because you be like, well, we're good. And you be like, why are the people good? They're not seeking an alternative because they're good. And that's the thing with life. Life can be like that. And the person seeking an alternative, not even a child of the system, can get it and they be like, oh no, this is good. So notice here. And all day in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath. So you could read this text, you'd be like, why they angry? Ain't this Bible stories? ain't it so? But they could be mad because what he's telling them, says, you all are in a mess, but you're not seeking a physician. You're telling me to heal myself. You're telling me to do those things like it's a show. You know, I'm going to do some miracles. Oh, that's impressive, right? While they need healing. So you can see why they get angry. Because how dare you tell me that Cuba is people are fed and they're drunk and they're happy? How dare you tell me that says all these drugs is keeping people happy when things are bad? We're not Cuba. How dare, and that's what the problem is. How dare you tell me that Israel is not the best place to live? Is the greatest place. So why is it the greatest place? Because they have an iron dome. You're like, that don't sound like something bad. You see, people can be comfortable in their mess. And they can, because mainline, as I said, Jezebel was mainline. And the prophets, everybody's starving out there. but they're eating at Jezebel table, and they're good. I don't care. I'm fed, right? So it's easy. So just look at North Korea and say they're starving over there, and you say, wait a minute, but you have people living on the street here. Oh no, no, no. This that's you have people high in drugs. North Korea, I mean, literally North Korea buy a, a whole factory that make alcohol, dismantle it from England, ship it to their country and rebuild it. Okay, so we can say, yeah, they keep their people inebriated, but we don't keep our people inebriated here. We don't have a national debt. We don't have bombed out cities. We don't have all these things going on. Oh no, we don't look in the mirror. We just look at other people's mess and say that they're bad, but we're better. We send in food aid to people across in Africa while we over here have people literally dumpster diving and doing pirouettes or whatever they call it. When these things where the people spin and stuff like that in dumpsters. So, physician, heal yourself. So they were mad because they say, how do you say we messed up here in Israel? We have it better than the Gentiles and the publicans. And rose up and thrust him out of the city and led him up to the brow of the hill whereon the city was built, that they might cast him down. So their reaction tell you that they didn't like what he was saying. No, he wasn't wrong, but their reaction was brutal. They'd be like, we're going to kill you for saying that. Wow. That means he didn't step on the corner, he make a step on the head. But he passing through the midst of them went their way. These sinners, listen, I have a few more years to go. You can't kill me now. It's too early. And came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and taught them on the Sabbath days. So every Sabbath you go to church. You can go to church on Sunday or Friday. And notice here, and they were astonished at his doctrine. Me saying that, I won't go someplace and say that because they probably would want to throw me down. And I don't know if I'll probably get thrown down. So notice here, and they were astonished at his doctrine. And his words was with power. And in the synagogue, there was a man which had a spirit of an unclean devil and cried out with a loud voice. So where he was before, they had the unclean devils try to throw him down. The people who had the unclean devils in them. But they're not sick. So they're not seeking an alternative. They're comfortable with the pharisaical Sadducee situation. And as I say, there's many people they talk, oh, Republican, Democrat. Like, listen, these people are fed. They're good. They have no problem. So the man with the unclean spirit and saying, let us alone. What do we do with thee, thou Jesus of Nazareth? Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee, that who thou art, the Holy One of God. And Jesus rebuked him, saying, hold thy peace and come out of him. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, he came out of him and hurt him not. And they were all amazed and spake among themselves, saying, what a word is this? For with authority and power he commanded the unclean spirit. And they came out, and the fame of him went out into every place of the country and round about. So there was people with demons inside of the church that tried to kill him, but he couldn't heal them. He couldn't get rid of the demons because they didn't have no problem. And there's trouble in churches, in institution, in everything. But people are comfortable with mainline. And so for them, you can't solve a problem when there's no problem because there's no problem. Like, what are you talking about, Lloyd? There's no problem. We good. Everything is good. We're just going to eat. So why do some consider mainstream and not alternative? Because there's no problem. They're comfortable. Why is there safety in mainline, mainstream, whatever? Because we're comfortable. It's us. It represents us. It's a mirror of us. It's built in our image. Why are some people the child of the system and they just worship the system? Because they're the system. But it's killing them. But they don't want to admit the fact that they probably need to have a change, because a change might have to take them in an alternative direction, take them out of their comfort zone, and put them in a better place. They're comfortable with a mess. Why would somebody be comfortable with people in their audience or in their church filled with demons? Because we're comfortable in mainline. And we're going to we're going to attack anybody that dare tell us that we need to change. And you can see it also in the country. Why is the national debt this way? And the national debt is correlated, as I say, to health problems, to homelessness. All of these are correlated. And people, we see it, but people are comfortable because, if I'm fed, I'm drunk, I'm high, I might be comfortable. This is how I look at it. This is what I see. Let us pray. Oh, Father, what's in heaven, I thank you for your word this day. Pray, Lord, that you may be with us today, Father, that we might truly not sit comfortable in pain and suffering and in a dismayed condition and with afflictions, and that we might seek solutions, seek help, seek alternatives for our problems, that we might live and not die. This is my prayer in Jesus' name, amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live when we should talk Monday about motivation. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.